Hey there, fellow global citizens. Tonight we're diving headfirst into the world of BRICS. No, not the kind you stack to build a house, though, come to think of it, that's kind of what's happening here. We're talking about the alliance of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Think of them as the cool kids table in the global cafeteria, and everyone else is awkwardly trying to figure out if they can sit there too. The thing is, this table isn't just about who has the coolest lunchbox. BRICS represents a major shift in global power. They're tired of the old guard, the Western powers, calling all the shots. So they're banding together to make their voices heard and create a new world order. One where everyone gets a seat at the table, or at least a chance to politely request one. But what does BRICS actually want? World domination? A lifetime supply of samosas and caipirinhas? While those aren't entirely out of the question, their stated goals are a bit more nuanced. They're all about boosting economic growth, helping each other develop, and generally making the world a fairer place. Think of it like this. For decades, the West has been running the show. They set the rules, controlled the money, and generally did things their way. But BRICS is saying, hold on a minute, we'd like a word. They represent a huge chunk of the world's population and economic power, and they're ready to flex those muscles. This year, the BRICS gang rolled into Kazan, Russia for their annual summit. Picture it, a bunch of world leaders bundled up in their finest winter gear, sipping tea, and discussing the fate of the world. Sounds cozy, right? Well, maybe not so much. This wasn't just a casual get-together. This was where BRICS laid out its vision for the future. And let's just say it's a future where they have a lot more say in things. One of the big takeaways from the Kazan Declaration, that's the official name for their summit agreement, not some new brand of vodka, was the idea of BRICS pay. Basically, they're tired of relying on the US dollar for everything. They want their own financial system, one that's free from Western influence, and it's not just about money. BRICS is also looking to shake up the way global decisions are made. They want a bigger role in organizations like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, which have traditionally been dominated by Western countries. They're also pushing for reforms to make these institutions more representative of the developing world. Here's the thing about cool kids tables, everyone wants to sit there, and BRICS is no exception. This year they added a few new faces to the mix: Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE. That's right folks, BRICS is expanding. Now before you get too excited, these new additions aren't full-fledged members yet. They're more like probationary members allowed to hang out and see what all the fuss is about. But it's still a big deal. It shows that BRICS is gaining traction and that more and more countries are looking for alternatives to the Western-led order. So why are all these countries so eager to join the club? Well, for starters, there's the economic incentive. BRICS is home to some of the world's fastest-growing economies, and being part of the gang gives you access to new markets and investment opportunities. But it's not just about the money. Joining BRICS is also a way for countries to increase their geopolitical clout. It's a way to send a message to the world that they're not content to be followers anymore. They want to be leaders, and they see BRICS as the vehicle to get them there. Let's talk about money, shall we? Specifically, let's talk about the fact that BRICS is increasingly trying to ditch the US dollar. That's right. They're looking to break free from the greenback's grip and create their own financial system. Now, before you go cashing out your savings and investing in rubles and rupees, let's be clear, this isn't going to happen overnight. The dollar is still the world's reserve currency, and it's going to take a lot to change that. But BRICS is making moves. They're increasingly conducting trade in their own currencies, and they're setting up alternative financial institutions like the New Development Bank to rival the World Bank and the IMF. The goal here isn't necessarily to destroy the dollar, it's to create a more multipolar financial system, one where the dollar isn't the only game in town. This would give BRICS countries more economic independence and make them less vulnerable to fluctuations in the US economy. Section 5. Can't we all just get along? BRICS edition. BRICS may present a united front to the world, but let's not kid ourselves. It's not all sunshine and roses behind closed doors. Like any good group project, there's bound to be some drama. For starters, you've got some fundamental ideological differences. You've got democracies like Brazil and India sitting at the same table as authoritarian regimes like China and Russia. That's bound to create some tension. Then you've got the issue of historical rivalries. India and China, for example, have a long-standing border dispute that has flared up into conflict in the past. And let's not forget about Russia's little adventure in Ukraine, which has put a strain on its relationships with some of its BRICS partners. So, yeah, there are definitely some challenges to BRICS cohesion, but here's the thing, they need each other. They need to overcome their differences if they want to achieve their goal of creating a new world order. Section 6. From Bloc to Global Powerhouse? So, can BRICS really challenge the West's dominance? It's a question that has everyone from diplomats to economists scratching their heads. On paper, they've got what it takes. We're talking about a massive chunk of the world's population, resources, and economic might. They're home to some of the fastest-growing economies on the planet, and they're rapidly expanding their influence on the global stage. But raw power alone isn't enough. To truly become a global powerhouse, BRICS needs to overcome some serious hurdles. We're talking about internal divisions, economic instability in some member states, and the challenge of maintaining unity in a group with such diverse interests. Then there's the question of whether the West will simply sit back and watch as BRICS reshapes the world order. Don't bet on it. The US and its allies are already taking steps to counter BRICS's growing influence, and we can expect to see a whole lot more of that in the years to come. Section 7. BRICS, the sequel. This time, it's personal. One thing that makes BRICS different from other international groups is its focus on people-to-people cooperation. They're not just about government-level agreements and economic deals, they're also about fostering cultural exchange, promoting education, and generally bringing people together. This might sound a bit fluffy, but it's actually a pretty savvy strategy. By building bridges between their citizens, BRICS countries are creating a foundation for lasting cooperation. They're also trying to change the narrative about what it means to be a global power. It's not just about military might and economic dominance anymore. It's also about soft power, about winning hearts and minds. We're talking about things like student exchange programs, joint research initiatives, and cultural festivals. These may seem like small potatoes compared to, say, negotiating a trade deal, but they can have a big impact in the long run. They help to build understanding and trust between people from different cultures, which can pave the way for closer cooperation on all levels. Section 8. The challenges of playing nice in the sandbox. Let's be real. Getting a bunch of countries to play nice together is like herding cats. It's messy, it's chaotic, and there's a good chance someone's going to end up with scratches. And BRICS is no exception. For all their talk of cooperation and shared values, these are still countries with their own distinct interests and priorities. And sometimes those interests clash. Take trade, for example. While BRICS countries generally agree on the need for a more equitable global trading system, they don't always see eye to eye on the details. Then there's the issue of security. With tensions flaring in different parts of the world, BRICS countries are under pressure to take sides. But finding common ground on issues like Ukraine and Taiwan is easier said than done. Section 9. So, is BRICS the future? So after all that, here's the million-dollar question. Is BRICS the future of global cooperation? The short answer is, it's complicated. On the one hand, BRICS has the potential to be a transformative force in the world. It represents a genuine challenge to the Western-dominated order, and it offers a vision of a more multipolar and equitable world. But there are also reasons to be skeptical. BRICS still faces significant internal challenges, and it's unclear whether it can overcome its internal contradictions to become a truly cohesive force. Ultimately, the success or failure of BRICS will depend on a number of factors, including the internal dynamics of the group, the actions of Western powers, and the broader geopolitical landscape. One thing's for sure, BRICS is a force to be reckoned with. Whether they succeed in reshaping the world order or not, they've already changed the game, and that's something worth paying attention to.